Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to turn this flower image into a floral design just like this. So if you'll watch the video you'll see how I use layer masks and photo manipulation to turn this flower image into a floral design with a box around the edge and letters blending in with the flowers. If you watch until the end of the video you'll get a better representation of how I do this and the skills you need to learn. Let's get straight into it. So I'm going to leave the images in the description for you to follow along. So if you have your image up now, this is what you're going to need. You're going to need the image and then you're going to need the background to be black. So it doesn't matter what size the background is. I have chosen a generic size of, that's the size of my canvas. I'll put it in pixels for you. There you go, that's the size. We're going to get straight into it by zooming in and then we're going to add a curves layer over the top of the flowers. So I've already got mine here. I'm just going to turn it on. As you can see, it just makes it a bit darker, a bit more contrast, and I'm going to show you I've got a small S curve going on. Not too much, just enough to bring out the darks and sort of just hide away the bottom of this vase, which we're going to layer mask out in a minute. So if I just move the flowers up a bit and I go to layer mask, I'm just going to get a soft brush 40 size. I'm just going to zoom in a bit and then I'm going to start erasing away at this vase. You don't need it there, and that's it really. If I just go around the edge again, just so I don't get rid of too much of that. There we go. I like that. Now if we zoom back out, we've pretty much got rid of the whole vase. Now it doesn't matter about it being there too much, but if you want it in the image, you can have it in the image. That's up to you. So the flowers are prepared now. So the next thing we need to do is create a square over the top of this image. Now this is going to be used by doing the rectangle tool. I'm going to create a shape with a stroke of about 10, I would say, and we'll just see how it looks from there. So you want to just drag across, and obviously you've got to be wary because this is going to be covering up some of the image, and you might want to like layer mask it through some of the flowers and all that. So if I just do that, and then I can always reduce the size, and I just click OK. Now you want it centered, make sure it's centered. As you can see, there's going to be a few flowers and stuff that we're going to have to layer mask out just so that we can make this look properly. Obviously you can have some of it going over the top, but some of it isn't going to matter because obviously you want it layered up. So you want some in front, some behind, just to create that depth of field. Now we've got our square, which is center aligned. We're going to get our text. Now for this I'm going to use probably a Helvetica font. If I just type that in, you can download this from any site really. The font is probably the best one. It's a generic font, everyone uses it, you'll have seen it everywhere. I'm just gonna do hello, I think. I'm gonna do that, and then I'm just gonna alt click and drag it down below. Doing this is gonna be quite tedious, but obviously if you want that result you're gonna need to get it perfect. We have all of our text now, depending on where you want it to be put. It doesn't really matter because obviously you're going to move it all about in a minute, so I wouldn't stress too much on that. Get all of your text and you're just going to select it all, group it all, and then we're just going to drag it over to our image here. As you can see, it's already looking like the designs you've probably seen online. Now we're going to get our rectangle and all of our text, and we're just actually, before we do that, we're going to position our text where we want it to be. So I'm going to have most of mine probably the middle area, I would have said. Obviously you need to think about where you are putting it because you want it to have a bit of like direction, I would say, because obviously if you have it in silly areas people aren't going to realize what the word is that you're trying to spell out, and obviously you want it in areas which you can layer mask out and stuff like that. So just have a think about that before you put it in the design. So I've got my words there. You can make them all bigger if you want to. I'm just going to select them all. I'm just going to drag it out a bit and then I'm just going to move it back up to about here. So got our words and we're just going to select our rectangle and then select all the words and we're going to group them together. Now I'm going to name this line and text. So now I've got my line and text. Now if you see, if I reduce the opacity, it reduces the opacity for all of the group. Now this is something you're going to need to do to know which bits you're going to be layer masking out. Then selecting the group, you're going to click layer mask. Now I've got a layer mask which will affect the whole group. So if I go back and get my brush, and we're probably going to need a hard brush for this, depending on what size you want, you can scale it down. I'm just going to zoom in, and we're going to start on probably the H, I would say, first, and we're just going to change it to black and start layer masking it out. As you can see, I've already created the manipulation of the first word just by going around the pixels. It doesn't need to be necessarily perfect because it is a layer masked out. It's not going to be perfect, but you want to get it as realistic looking as possible. So if I just, it doesn't have to be the whole bit of text. Just pick certain bits, certain areas, and then they'll just gradually flow through themselves. You don't need too much going on, but it's good to have enough to show that you've done something to it, basically. So if it's too much, the opacity, you can reduce it down again, and then you can just go around with your text, with your brush tool, and then increase the opacity. And then, as you can see, I've got the flower in front there, I've got that one in there, and then I've got one in front there. So we've already done the first letter. Going to some of the letters, you probably want to hide more, but obviously you don't need to hide the whole thing, because obviously you won't know what it is, but there's certain bits that you're going to need to exploit, so to say, just to make sure that it looks like you've done enough, because you don't want too much text there, because it'll look like a mishmash of stuff when you finish the final design. So if you get a varied amount on each one, then it'll just make it look a lot better. So as you can see here, I've got rid of most of the text. Now if I just increase the opacity, now we can see what it looks like. So some of it's hidden, some of it's not, and I'm just going to switch to white now. I'm just going to paint back in the bits that I think should be there, just so it doesn't look too outgoing like so. As you can see, it looks like it's hidden behind the flower. I'm probably going to hide it behind that one as well, because you want like a few different depths of field, so you don't want too much of the same layer, so to say. You want it on different levels, and then you can just start. This is a really good habit to get into, really, because if you are doing these designs, because there are people that want designs like this, like clients and stuff, you can learn stuff from this. You want it to make it look all a bit different. As you can see here, I've only put a little bit of flower over the top of the L, just enough to show that I'm still doing it. But obviously this one here, there's not a lot to go off, so you can cut out half of it like so, just cut it there and then just get rid of that, just erase the whole thing pretty much. And then if I increase the brush, I can just get rid of it like that. There you go. Now it looks like the whole L is underneath the leaf, which I quite like, but obviously in certain designs you might not want to do that, but it's up to you really. So if I go around here and just cut out the whole thing again. The only thing that will probably be quite hard is if you haven't used layer mask before. I have a video of that on my tutorial. If you need help with it, just check it out. It's somewhere in the description. I'll put it in there. So now we've got all our letters. So if I zoom out a bit, as you can see, they are all hidden behind bits of flower now. So the last thing to do is to manipulate this rectangle which is going around. So we want some of it behind and some of it in front. So as you can see here, I'm just going to zoom in again. I've already kept the opacity down and it's on the same layer, so all I have to do is change to black, and then I can just erase like so. And then I just go to the edge here and I can just erase again. So as you can see, it really isn't that hard to do. We just need to get used to doing it is the main thing. Make sure you don't overdo it, because you only want some behind and obviously some in front, because if you overdo it and you have all of the white behind, it's just going to look silly. Remember to use different brush size all the time, just so it keeps it varied and doesn't look all the same. Again, you're going to need to use specific brush sizes, because obviously you don't want it to look patchy in areas. So once I've done this, I'll probably zoom out and I'll have a look at how it looks, just to see what I think of it. And if it looks how I want it to, then that's great. But if it doesn't, then you're just going to have to go and rework it all and basically just change what you're doing the first time. So if I change to black here, I want these nice little flowers here to come through, and I can just layer mask them out like so. You don't have to have it all, like I said. And then if I just want that one there we go. It's just personal preference really of how you want it to look. You'll probably have seen these designs before. Everyone's is different because everybody has a different view on how they want it to look. Just don't copy anyone, I'd say, and just try and build it up yourself. Coming to the end of the video here, I've sort of cut out most of my flower. Have a look. So if you zoom out, have a look at what's going on. Obviously just before I do look, I'm just gonna quickly do this here. Now if I zoom out, all looking quite good to me. Now I just increase the opacity. As you can see, all of that bits that we've cut out, they look really good. So the flowers are outlining the rectangle, the text is all hidden behind, and the L's are hiding behind. It looks really good. The next thing to probably do is you can either, if you move it below, obviously you're not going to see it, so you want it still below, but you want the curves, actually undo that, you want the curve layer at the top, so it enhances the whole thing. And as you can see, the vase doesn't really matter, but obviously if you want it there, you can have it there. But my depth of field is creating flowers behind as well as in front, so I think this looks really clean and it's a nice design. You could even turn this into a poster or as a postcard, pick a name for somebody and have it on the front. It just depends on your personal preference. You can use this for clients. This is the end of the video now, guys, but I hope you've enjoyed and learned something today. If you have, please leave a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.